We're going to looking together. We're turning the corner in the book of Ephesians now with the 6th chapter, verse 10. Now, you remember the name of that Watchman Nee book that we were talking about at the beginning of Ephesians? What was the name of it?
Sit, walk, and stand.
Yes.
Okay. So sit, walk, and stand, because sit was the main verb in the beginning. Then he shifted. So this is how you're supposed to walk. Talking about the Christian walk. And he shifts again in the 10th verse of the 6th chapter. And he says the word stand repeatedly. So this is the final section of the book of Ephesians.
Right.
Which is about spiritual warfare. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen and start our slideshow. So the purposes of God are described in the beginning part of the book. So let's review the 4 purposes of God. He's going to save people by grace, choose people and save them. And he's going to make a new people out of the saved people. So that we form a new family of faith. And then to these people, he's going to reveal himself. And reveal himself in his plan, so people, all of God's people, can know all about him. Then he wants us to understand the big picture, his plan for the ages. That closes out the stuff we're supposed to know. Then we move to the stuff we're supposed to do, the 4 charges in the book of Ephesians. The first one is to promote Christian unity. He's saying that now that you guys are all one in Christ, we need to act like one people. No more divisions in the church. And this new people, this new group of people, all of my followers, not only do you have to be together, but you've got to act differently than you used to. So the old self, the pagan self, that's got to go, and you've got to be new people. We've got to build Christian homes. So the home is actually here to teach us about our relationship with God. So everything that we learn about home and family is there to show us more about relationship between us and Jesus. So Christian homes, that's that section we just completed. The last of the 4 charges is to stand against the enemy. Okay? Here is the first part here. Spiritual weapons and tactics. So not special weapons and tactics. We need spiritual weapons and tactics. So we can be the real SWAT team. Because spiritual warfare is going to require spiritual weapons. There's some imperatives that we'll get to. It's actually going to be, we'll spend a couple of weeks on this. I think I've broken it down into 3 sections, and we'll just look at a few verses tonight to kick the spiritual warfare section off. He says, finally, be strengthened by the Lord in his vast strength. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand, see there's the word stand, against the tactics of the devil. For our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and authorities and against the powers of the darkness and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavens. Okay. And then, of course, the famous passage is coming up. That's where we get to identify all of the armor of God. So that's ahead of us. But we're going to look at, as he sets this up, he tells us, finally, be strong in the Lord. So the version that I have here is the Holman Christian Standard, and it has the preferred translation of this. Some translations say, be strong. So, you know what I do to be strong? Push-ups, dumbbells, eat right, exercise. I'm going to be strong. And through my own willpower and through my own energy, I'm going to build up my strength. I'm going to go out and pump that iron and develop ginormous muscles so that I'll be able to go up to Arnold Schwarzenegger and go, pink. So if it was that sort of a thing, it would be up to me to build up my own strength to fight the devil. But he doesn't say, make sure you get strong enough. Make sure you exercise and work out so that you are strong in your own effort. It's a passive verb. So therefore, we have to be strengthened, which means God is the one doing the strengthening. We're the one receiving God's strength.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the passive verbs work. Be strengthened. And so I like the Holman Christian Standard here. Christian Standard Version says, be strengthened. So it's a command to let God do something to you.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting way to say a command. We would say to somebody, go clean your room. It's a weird way to say a command. Make sure you let your room be cleaned. So it's a passive thing. So the strengthening comes from God. And that's why it says, be strengthened in the Lord. Reminds me of what God said to Joshua when he went to the Battle of Jericho. He was telling Joshua to be strong and of good courage. You're fixing to face Jericho, so you can be strong and of good courage. Don't worry about Jericho. Think about me. I'm the one that's going to do it. Now, you remember, how much did Joshua's army have to do in the Battle of Jericho?
Not much.
Yeah. Just take a little breath and blow that trumpet. That's all it was. Mm-hmm. Walls fell down. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's God's telling us is, you let me strengthen you. And it's a continual thing. It's a present passive imperative. So continually be strengthened. The present means it's got to go on and on and on and on, always happening. Passive means Jesus is doing it to us. Imperative means we've got to let God do that. So, very interesting word there. The real strength is in the Lord. The real power is in the Lord. Because there is nothing in me that is strong enough for this war. If I'm going to be going to battle against the devil, there is no way I'm going to be up to it. Yes. I've got to have God in on the team. Got to. So we're told that's a command to be strong. We also have another command here, which is to put on armor. It says, finally, be strengthened in the Lord by his vast strength. Verse 11, put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the tactics of the devil. You like spy movies, Rosa?
I like spy movies.
Some
okay. I do.
Well, this happens in all the best spy movies. Okay. The spy, you talk about the spy, then there's a problem, there's a bad guy, or there's a problem the spy's gonna have to go fix. Mm-hmm. Before he heads out, he always goes to the lab and gets the cool spy gear. Mm-hmm. Right? You've always got to get the watch that sends out makes an electric magnet, or blow stuff up or whatever, you've always got to go get the Maxwell Smart shoe phone or the or the belt that shoots has one bullet in it or something. All the coolest spy gear. You got to get your gear before you head out. So he tells us here, make sure you put on full armor of God. Spiritual battles require spiritual armor. So that's why it says the armor of God. So there's an English word here, which is actually the same as the Greek word. It's the word panoply. That's an unusual word, but in Greek, it is the word panoplia, which is exactly our word, panoply. Panoply means all of your weapons. See, pan is all, and hoopla is a Greek word for weapons. So all the weapons. Make sure you get all the weapons before you go out and engage the enemy. And the reason we need all the weapons is because we are facing a deceitful, tricky enemy. It says here we're supposed to put on the full armor of God so that we can stand against the tactics of the devil. A lot of translations say schemes. I love the old King James Version here. It says, stand against the wiles of the devil. Okay, that's one I grew up memorizing is King James. And the word wiles, that makes me think of Wile E. Coyote, like,
Because he is like that.
Yeah, because he's not going to come up and open up a formal declaration. On this date, the government of hell is going to declare war upon the government of heaven, and we're going to fight the battle in your house. No, there's no formal announcement. There's no fair shots. There's no just war. There's no Geneva Convention. He's tricky. He's deceitful. He's going to use everything he can to get you. He's tricky and deceitful. He's scheming. So that's the word there. It's a real interesting word. So let's talk about the enemy. The word devil is the word accuser. The word devil means accuser. So we sometimes hear that he is the accuser of the brethren. So that's a phrase that's used of him. That's what the word devil means. So if we look at all these descriptions, we'll probably learn a good bit more about him. Here is where he's described as the accuser. The war in heaven, Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon. And they were not strong enough. There was no place found for them. So here it is. The great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, who is called the devil, Satan, who deceives the whole world. Okay? So the word devil means the accuser. And here he is deceiving the brethren. Okay? He is the one who, it's down here, a little lower. King of God has come, for the accuser of the brethren has been thrown down. He accuses them before God day and night. Okay, that's his job. He is the accuser of the brethren. Okay? The next one is the word Satan. The word Satan means adversary. That means enemy. Okay? Have you ever heard of an Apache Indian?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that the word Apache is not an Apache word?
Mm-mm.
It's not in the Apache language.
No. Where did it come from then?
All the other Indians, all the other Native Americans their language, like the Navajo, their language has the word Apache, which means enemy.
Oh, I see.
So the Apache didn't call themselves Apache.
Right.
Everybody else called them.
Enemies called them.
Those guys are the enemy.
Yeah.
That's right. So Satan is like that. The word Satan means our adversary, the one who's against us, our enemy. Here's when he used the word Satan. 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said, I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Okay? So there's the word Satan, the adversary. I've given you authority to tread on all these things and the power of the enemy. Nevertheless, don't rejoice in this, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven. By the way, Jesus was around before creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus has always been. So when Satan fell from heaven, Jesus saw it. Okay? So this is Jesus recalling an incident from his memory. I just think that's cool. He's remembering something that happened before the dawn of time when Satan fell. So he is the accuser, he is the adversary, and he is the tempter. A lot of times, what we know about the devil is that he is a tempter. Here's an occasion where he was tempting. Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. 40 days, 40 nights, and he became hungry. And here comes one of the temptations. Tempter said, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. So we know he was tempted in these three areas here. And that's how we meet the devil, because he came along to be the tempter. So that's how he gets us too. He is a tempter. He's going to dangle something in front of your face that you want, tempt you to step out of line and do what you want. John tells us that he's a murderer and a liar. Okay. Here's John 8:44. You are of your father the devil. He's talking to the Pharisees. You want to do the desire of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning. No truth. He's a liar. He's no truth in him. When he speaks lies from his own nature, because he's a liar and the father of lies. So that's another thing we know about him. All lies come from the devil. He's the one that starts it. If you think about telling a lie, that's the devil telling you, hey, why don't you just lie yourself out of this situation? That's the devil's channel. You don't need to listen to the devil's channel. Another description tells us he's a roaring lion. Be sober, and 1 Peter says, be sober in spirit. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him firm in your faith, knowing that the same sufferings be accomplished by your brethren who are in the world. So he is a roaring lion. That means he's on the prowl. He's out to get us. Also a serpent. So we go coast to coast here. Genesis 3:1 and Revelation 12:9. That's the first book of the Bible and the last book of the Bible. It says, now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, indeed, as God said, you don't eat from the tree. And so we see the serpent all the way from the beginning in the Garden of Eden. And that's the devil. And then, if you're wondering, was the serpent really the devil? Check this out. Verse 12 of chapter 12, Revelation. The great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, who is called the devil and Satan. So if there was any doubt before whether or not this serpent was the devil, here it is, black and white. The serpent was the devil. He deceives the whole world just like he deceived Eve that day. So in the future, we get to look when he was thrown down, when he gets thrown down. This is in the past. So he deceives, he was thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. His angels. How about that? Okay, so the devil is also referred to as an angel of light. Here's a warning in the book of Corinthians. Such men are false apostles. These are the guys that are opposing Paul and causing disruption in the church. False apostles, deceitful worshipers, disguising themselves as disciples or apostles of Christ. No wonder. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it's not surprising if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end will be according to their deeds. See, if Satan was ugly, then it would be easy enough to resist him. But there's got to be something about that temptation that's attractive, right? So he can even disguise himself as something that looks good and looked right, but it isn't. It's a disguise. He's not an angel of light. Sometimes he can make himself look like that. The devil is also called the god of this age. In whose case, the god of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelieving so that they may not see the light of the gospel, glory of Christ, who is the image of God. He's also talking in 2 Corinthians, and he called the devil the god of this age. So, and all of everything that's not worshiping God is the god of this age, and that is the devil. Okay, and so he does have authority, he does have power, he does have control over the world right now, and that's because we as humans gave it to him. So he's the god of this age. And here's another word that we get sometimes, the word Lucifer. And if you're going to go searching for this, we have to search in the King James or the New King James. I've been picking up the Bible references here, mainly from the New American Standard. And it does not have the word, most of the new translations do not have the title Lucifer. But this is where it would go right there. Okay? Do you know what? So, Rosa, you speak Spanish. How do you say light in Spanish?
Luz.
Okay. So, Lucifer would fit here on the star of the morning, the morning light, Lucifer. So that's where the older translations in New King James and King James use this as a personal name, Lucifer, and other translations translate that name, Star of the Morning. Okay? How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn, you've been cut down, you've weakened the nations. And here's where we learn a lot about him. You said, I will ascend to heaven. He wanted to have God's seat. I will raise my throne above the stars. I will sit on the mount in the assembly. I will ascend. Me. He's all kept talking about himself. So that's Lucifer. Right. So he's got a lot of other names we've found out. Lucifer is just the one of them. Here's 3 of his aliases from Egypt. Osiris, Ra, or Isis. We can put some other ones in there because Egypt had dozens of gods. And you know what? All of them were the devil. So they were all just different names for the devil. Isis was one of their main gods. Ra was supposed to be the sun god. Isis was the river god and fertility god, but it's all the devil. You know, He doesn't, the thing is, he doesn't really care what you call him. Okay?
Right.
He's behind all of these. Here's an interesting one. In the Bible, we hear the word Baal, which is actually, in the Canaanite religion, it was really Baal-zebul, which means Lord of the Manor, which would be something good. The Hebrews made a pun with this by changing it to Baal-zebub at the end. So they made a pun, which means the Lord of the Flies, something stinky. So they were teasing the Baal god over his name all the way back then. And this word is used of the devil in the New Testament. Jesus and his friends were talking. They say, you cast out demons by the power of Beelzebub. So that is used there. A couple of other ones back from the Old Testament days. Molech and Chemosh. We see those floating around. The people worshiping Molech, people worshiping Chemosh. The worship of both of those two deities involved many disgusting practices. The worst is child sacrifice. Terribly, terribly hideous cult. And really, the devil was both of them. Just two other names for the devil. Now we're in Greek. We're in the New Testament in Greek era. Zeus. Zeus is another name for the devil. And then the one that was very famous in the city of Ephesus, where we're studying, was Artemis. They had a big temple for Artemis. As a matter of fact, they had a riot when Paul was preaching there. When he first got there to start a church, they were raising a ruckus, and they're trying to get him in prison and trying to get him killed. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. And that's her Greek name. I wrote Diana in parentheses. That's the Roman name. Some translations of the Bible change it to Diana there. Artemis, Diana, it's the same girl. And you know what? It's all the devil. Here's some new ones. Some new aliases. Allah, that's the Islam god. Buddha, that means the devil. Vishnu, that's the Hindu god. Confucius, that's the Chinese god. Guess what? It's all the devil. Satan is behind every false religion. It's just branch after branch of the Church of Satanism. There is the worship of the true God, and there is everything else is the worship of Satan. Okay. All right. The enemy also has an army. We touched on this a second ago. Verse 12. Now, our battle is not against flesh and blood, but it is against the authorities, against the powers of this darkness and spiritual forces of evil in the heavens. So the Holman says our battle. A lot of translations will read, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So I really prefer the word wrestling right there. That's the concept of the real word, wrestling, because wrestling is close quarter combat. You're going to be grappling. So you and the enemy are touching each other, and you're fighting hands, shoulders, feet, legs. You're getting wrestling holds and stuff. You don't get to stay back behind a computer screen and send a drone to go get it. No. Our battle with the enemy is a wrestling match. When Satan comes after you, he's going to come close, and he's going to be trying to get you. So we can't stay in a field of protection way away from the battle. we're going to be up close and personal with spiritual forces. And we are fighting all of these people in his army that followed him in his rebellion. What does it list here? Rulers, authorities, powers of darkness, and forces of evil. So all of these people that have followed Satan in his rebellion. This is where we get the knowledge of part of his army. A sign appeared in heaven, a fiery red dragon, 7 heads and 10 horns, 7 diadems. That's the devil. Verse 4, his tail drew a third of the stars and threw them to earth. That's the stars as the angels. Mm-hmm. So according to Hebrews, you can't count the angels. There's too many. However, a third of them, which is still more than we can count, a third of them are following the devil, followed the devil in his rebellion down to earth, and are continually trying to get us. Okay? So this is how we know about the third of it. We have close quarter combat. We have the angels that followed him. And we have 2 theaters of war, just like World War II. We had to fight the Germany and the Axis powers, and we had to fight the imperial forces of Japan. So we had the Atlantic and the Pacific where we had to fight. 2 theaters. Here are the 2 theaters for the Christian combat. Powers of darkness in the heavens.
Excuse me.
We have, sure, bless you. We have the powers of this darkness, this evil age here on earth, the evil world, and heavenly realms. So 2 places that the battle is fought, close to home and behind the scenes, where we can't quite see it. Remember who we have to fight?
Satan.
The beginning of this book, Ephesians 2, says that that the threat we face is the world, the flesh, and the devil. Okay? World is all around us. Everybody in the world that's against God is the enemy. The flesh, we can't escape that. We carry that with us, and the sin nature that's with us. That's part of our threats. And the adversary, the devil, the tempter, he is out to get us. John 10:10 tells us that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So we have the same threats. He has the same goal. He's not going to do us any favors. Some people think, well, I will join Satan's team and he'll make me a prince. Baloney. So everybody that joins his team, nobody becomes a prince. Nobody becomes a leader. They think that's the way to get earthly power. No. I'll sell my soul to the devil, and you will make me a leader in his forces. You're not going to be a leader. You're going to be used up. You'll be killed. You'll be destroyed. He has no concern for you whatsoever. And some people think they will do this because they know they're going to go to hell, and they'll make the most of it. And they think that the devil's in charge of hell. And that's a big mistake. The devil is not in charge of hell. The devil's a prisoner there too. Everybody there is a prisoner. He's just trying to bring us down with him. Steal, kill, and destroy. That's his goal. So there we have the introduction to our spiritual warfare in our fight against the devil. So I know I blasted through a lot of scriptures there, but wanted to make sure we touch on a lot of the stuff. What is that? Is that your
I wrote them all down.
did you? Okay.
Yeah.
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 I've been keeping muted because Josh is playing right next door. So
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes we get to wondering, where does the Bible say that? Does the Bible really say such and such about the devil and stuff? And we don't want to get into the point where we're just fascinated with the devil and spend all of our time thinking about him. But we want to know here and there what the Bible does say about the devil and how he acts and how he behaves. So be strong in the Lord, be strengthened in the Lord, and always let God strengthen you and be ready to put on that armor. One of the greatest encouragements that we have against in our battle against the devil is that you can flip over to the end and see what's going to happen. Okay. So the devil is on the losing team. You know, you can read the back of the book and see, hey, we win. Okay. So I never understand why people think, well, I'm going to join the losing team. Yay. No, abandon the losing team. They're going down. We know what is going to happen to them. Okay. We also know that the devil knows it. The devil is totally subservient to God. Okay. One of the earliest books of the Bible was the book of Job. And there's a council in heaven going on, and the devil walks in to this council like a board meeting. The devil walks in, and God says, where have you been? God is demanding that the devil give him an accounting of where he's been, what he's been up to. Okay? The devil does not demand that of God. No. God does demand it of the devil. So.
And he has to ask for permission.
He does. And so the world, the flesh, and the devil, don't let any of the world drag you down. Don't let your flesh drag you down. And put on the armor against the devil. So we'll look at the armor in a little more detail next time. And we'll look at all those different parts of the armor that are coming up, because those are all fun to think about and fun to memorize and dwell on which parts of the armor are what.
Right. Yes. Well, thank you. You've made Ephesians so informative, and it's opened my eyes a lot. I had read it already, and the one that stuck with me the most when I had read it is the armor of God, but everything else, when you read in between, it's so informative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, another thing we always have to remember, I didn't catch on this, but I'll touch on it next time, I think. Put on the armor. When he says put on the armor, that is a once for all thing. When he says be strengthened, that word is a continual word. It's like we always have to let God strengthen us. It's a continual thing. But when he says put on that armor, he's telling us to put it on once and keep it on. It's going to stay on. Okay. Right. So when you get saved, when you become a Christian, that's a one time and done. So couple of other things in there. I've enjoyed studying this through again. I've studied through Ephesians before, but every time that I've every time that I study through it, I learn more things.
Mm.
So I've been going through several of my old notes. I found notes that I wrote when I first started preaching. And I look at that page of handwritten stuff and I think, how did I make a sermon out of this? This is just, it doesn't even make sense. And now I've learned to study it in so much more detail. Just show you a screen right here, right quick, just so you can so you can see how you can get this out. Okay? There it is. Put that aside. And I'll put this one aside.
Mm.
So I'll show you guys where I am. Notes that I'm writing on Ephesians as we're studying. This is what I want you to notice right down there. See that? Down at the bottom corner there? I've typed up 35 pages of notes so far in this study.
Wow.
So
that is really good.
May turn into a book, but we're getting close.
Would be a good book.
We've got this is what we did today. Next time we'll talk about the armor in more specific detail. Then we got to spend some time talking about how we do the battle. And then there's a little paragraph that concludes the book. So that's what's that? 1, 2, 3 more. We've got 3 more sessions, and then we'll close out the book of Ephesians.
Okay.
So anyway, that's where we stand. So like I said, I've enjoyed studying it myself, and it's my notes just keep getting thicker and thicker on this because I learn more and more about it.
Yes, well, I'm learning a lot too.
Good, glad to hear it.
I'm learning a lot. I'm glad you're deciphering it the way you are.
Good.
Yes.
Glad to hear it. I'm hoping it's rewarding.
Are you recording it for Emily?
I am recording it today.
Good.
I think.
She wanted to.
I think I'm recording it. I hit the button, but
There's
I don't know.
There's a little button up in my corner of my screen saying you're recording.
I'm still recording?
It says recording. It's like blinking, so.